Hey, good morning, and welcome to the fourth hour with Greg Belfrage. Thanks so much for being here. Hit that like button. Many of you are actually, especially you regulars. God bless you guys. I really appreciate it. So, thank you so much for being here. Let's take a look at what's going on. These are really not things that I have touched on yet this morning. Nikki Haley is encouraging Republicans to quit whining about Kamala Harris and quit complaining because she hasn't given a formal sit down interview. And so Haley apparently told Fox News Channel, I think she was on Brett Baer's program, an interview with Brett Baer. And she said of Kamala Harris, we knew it was going to be her. She's not going to give an interview. They're going to hold out as long as they can. That's their right. They can do it. That doesn't mean we can't talk about what she believes in, and we should be getting out there and doing that. And I agree with portions of this, and I vehemently disagree with other portions about uh, Kamala Harris not doing an interview. That's their right. They can do that. Oh, hell no. Hell no. Vehemently disagree with that. The idea that she cannot be, that's okay. She doesn't give an interview. That's all right. No, I don't think so. Pounce on that. Pounce on that. And so, anyway, she went on. She said, again, she's talking now about Kamala Harris. And she told Brett Baer, she said, I take her at her word that she thinks that illegal immigrants should be able to vote and be given driver's licenses. I take her at her word that she wants to ban fracking and kill a bunch of U.S. jobs. Take her at her word. Now, that I agree with. Absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. I take her at her word as well. These are things that Kamala Harris has said in the past that I think are incredibly problematic. But the idea about she's not going to give an interview, should Republicans accept that? What do you think? Seriously, I would love to get your thoughts on that. Um, Steve's Steve's saying, I'm quite thankful Mrs. Harris hasn't given an interview. Her voice gives me the creeps. David said Harris should be doing news conferences every day just so that people can see how bad she is. I agree. Now, again, I don't expect her to, but the idea that um, we have Nikki Haley out there saying, stop focusing on that. What do you think? Should Republicans focus on the fact that Kamala Harris is not doing interviews? And I will remind you that it's that pressure that she got her to respond. She actually even acknowledged the press corps, the press gaggle that's been following her last week. And she said, we'll be giving an interview coming up, I think next week. She had said she would be doing an interview with somebody. She turned down another interview, this one with the Time Magazine. Time Magazine wanted to do a feature piece with her and a photo, and she declined the interview. So, I mean, that's pretty big deal on the Time Magazine and being on the cover. Now, and this is how much the media is in the bag in carrying the water for the Democrats is we're going to run. We're going to do the cover anyway. We'll do the Kamala cover anyway. We're all set to go. So we're going to run that anyway. And it's just like, it's just, I know. It's just another day in bizarro world. Looking at Steve's comments here. Every time Kamala gets in front of a microphone, it turns into a disaster, and her handlers know it. Yeah, she's tossing word salads. Absolutely right. Declining a Time Magazine interview to be on the cover is a pretty big thing. Yeah, absolutely. So again, then Time says, my understanding is Time is running the cover anyway. and I would not be surprised. But Nikki Haley about, saying a Republican should quit whining about it. Oh, no, they shouldn't. No, they shouldn't. They should not quit. They should continue to pound. I, I believe that those who are running for president have an obligation to talk to the American public. They've got an obligation to get out there and let American people know what they stand for. And, you know, I would love to believe that the media then would actually dissect that and get to the truth of what she's saying. There will be some who would. There would be some who would. So I think she's got an obligation to be out there. You're running for president, and the idea you're not doing any you're not doing any interviews. You're not sitting down and letting the people know what you stand for. Now, listen, I already know what Kamala Harris stands for. So I'm already well aware of what she stands for. But that snubbing the media that way is, refusing to give interviews. Um, it's crazy. And then this is one of the things, honestly, I don't like about Nikki Haley. Um, when at times, again, she makes comments, and half of it I go, okay, yeah. And half of it I go, are you nuts? I mean, I don't know what Fox News sees in her. They're talking. She's out there, but just because there are people who are speaking, and just because they're speaking, doesn't mean they deserve to be heard. I've said this many times. Just because you're out there and you're making a comment, doesn't mean you deserve to be heard. So what Fox News Channel sees in Nikki Haley is beyond me. They seem to love, squishy Republicans like Nikki Haley. Um, so that is what it is. Now let's get back to Kamala. There are a couple of stories here. And I talked about this a bit on the show this morning. The New York Post headline skews Harris team is editing news headlines in her favor without the knowledge of these outlets. There's a report out there. That continues to be a big story. So I saw that. We talked about it on the air. Harris team editing news headlines in her favor. And again, the news outlets, CNN, USA Today, unaware of it. And it was interesting. I got a very interesting story from a very interesting email from Sean as we were talking about this on the air near the conclusion of the program this morning. And Sean said, "You nailed it. The state media would have been happy to produce needed propaganda if the Harris campaign would have just asked nicely." Yeah, that's what absolutely. The media's, you know, uh, first of all, do you not find it really shocking that the media was absolutely unaware that the Harris campaign was doing this? It was Axios who actually did the story and then reported. And now a number of other places are picking it up as Axios reports or reported on Axios. That's fairly common. You see that thing happening. So that story had begun trending, but it was Axios who actually did the story. But should CNN need to have been told that that's what the Kamala Harris campaign was up to? Should USA Today have to have read it in Axios or on Axios that that's going on before they were aware of what's going on? I mean, the fact that the news media was, what? They have no idea. What? We didn't know that was going on. That just makes me laugh out loud. Seriously, that is just too rich. I mean, give me the the alleged gatekeepers, of news and information. These are the country's gatekeepers, my friend, and they are. Wow, give me a break. Sean went on to say the hubris of the Harris campaign is unchecked and not surprising. They have a narrative to present and will alter headlines and use photos without permission for the sake of the Democrat narrative. I agree, Sean. You're right on. Shows will do whatever it takes to get the happy ending that they want. There was another email that I wanted to share. Didn't have time to share it during the show. And Stephanie dropped me an email. We were talking at 8:00 this morning, talking about phones in school. And I was pretty busy with taking phone calls. I didn't see Stephanie's email. And I always love hearing from Steph. She said, when I was in school, kids were fond of bringing gaming devices, though they were pretty low tech at that time, she said, but they were prohibited, and the teacher would confiscate them if they were found until the end of the school day. Anything that distracted you from concentrating on your work in the classroom was prohibited, which is the way it should be today in regard to phones. So I very much appreciated her thoughts, and that's what a lot of my callers were saying. Cell phones in schools. Nope, nope. Do not need cell phones in schools. So it's kind of a pretty crazy thing. So some of the other stories that are out there, let's take a look. We were talking about Kamala Harris, and this is from the Washington Examiner. And they're talking about Kamala Harris and her last debate. What does her last debate say about her chances against Trump? And she was debating Mike Pence. So vice president, this is when the vice presidential debates, you have, Mike Pence and Kamala Harris. So the Examiner said this, the Washington Examiner, that Harris is taking heat for her media blackout on the campaign trail. Not from Nikki Haley, she's not. No, don't worry about it. That's not what I will tell you. You should be concerned about it. When you've got people that are running for the highest office in the land and they're refusing to do interviews, they're refusing, these things, the fact that Nikki Haley would have you ignore that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I will not ignore that. Nor should we. Anyway, Washington Examiner says her last run for office gives us some clues as to what voters can expect when she takes the stage without a script. She hit Mike Pence. They've gone back and looked at that debate between Harris and Mike Pence. What do you think she said to Mike Pence 6 times? I'm speaking. This is what she's known for. I'm speaking. She did it just the other day when she was on, where was she on stage? Forgive me, I forget. But she was out, she was doing one of the, these rallies, and the anti-Israel crowd and protesters show up. I'm speaking now. She did it with Mike Pence 6 times. I'm speaking. Oh, give me an absolute break. Just crazy. And then the Examiner says, yeah, that's a line she used most recently to shut down anti-Israel protesters. One that's sure to feature against Trump if moderators cannot cut the candidates' microphones. I think they should. What do you think of that? Cutting the microphones of the candidates? I like that. With the Trump Biden debate, they cut Trump's microphone so he couldn't interrupt. And we saw a Donald Trump who was very disciplined during that debate. He was very disciplined, and he respected the time that he had. And when his time was over, he stopped. Um, I'd like to see that continue. I'm very, very curious about that as to whether or not that will continue. But what else did Harris say during again, this Harris, Mike Pence debate. So she has agreed to debate Trump September 10th on ABC. Donald Trump wants 2 more debates. I don't think we're going to see them. Just like I do not think we're going to see any news conferences. Um, she has said she would do one. We'll see. Uh, we should be pushing for more news conferences. You want to be the president of the United States. The idea that you could come out and do a single news conference, that should, I mean, do you find that acceptable? What do you guys think? You find that idea acceptable that she would do one news conference? Now, again, as of now, she has done none. Um, Steve, I understand. Steve said it. It makes the debate boring, cutting the mics, but lets people trip all over themselves. Steve said it will be a tape news conference, edited and reshot multiple times. You think so? You believe it will be that kind of a news rather than a live news conference? I'm not convinced she will do any at all. She has said she would. I'm not convinced of it. You know, one thing I've learned is that, gosh, a lot of politicians aren't honest. they're not they're not very truthful. You know what I mean? Ugh, crazy. All right, let's see what else I've got for you today. This interests me. The New York Times, and I shared this story. It was trending this morning, but I touched on it very briefly. Um, the New York Times is upsetting their readers because they are no longer going to do now it's the New York Times. They will no longer do New York endorsements. So statewide races or mayoral contests. It's the New York Times, right? They're no longer going to do any local endorsements. And Town Hall's got a piece and reaction from people then who are saying, you know, this is unbelievable, but totally believable. Really, at this point, the paper should just get rid of the New York in the title and be done with it. Another who has said, seems totally backwards to me. Would make more sense to stop doing the national ones. It's an actual service to readers to inform them on local races. That's BS. I mean, seriously, these endorsements, they're garbage. They're garbage. You know why I don't make endorsements on the radio? Why I don't come on now I tell you who I'm going to be voting for sometimes. Donald Trump, obviously. You're you're well aware that I'm a Trumpite, right? So you know I'm going to be voting for Donald Trump. All right. You know that. And but I'm not telling you here's how I'm voting on this particular issue or this particular issue or the you know why? Because I think you're smarter than that. Smarter than that. You don't need me to tell you how I'm voting and go, geez, Greg's voting that way on, gee, maybe I better. Says who? Nobody. I mean, I don't think that way. I know you don't. You're very opinionated people. You've got a good grasp on a lot of these issues. And you know what? I've always believed, hey, you and I can disagree. I'm fine with that. And I hope you are too when we disagree, because I know you can figure these things out for yourself versus, you know, the media and these are our endorsements. And when has a media endorsement ever changed your mind? I would tell you in my case, zero. Goose egg. Never has a media endorsement changed my mind. Just doesn't happen. I know who I'm going to vote for, and I don't need whether it's the New York Times or the the Argus Leader, the newspaper whose name we do not speak. Um, and now they're the local paper's not even printed in Sioux Falls anymore. Give me a break. There, a lot of the journalists that and they are journalists who worked at the Argus Leader since they moved all of their operations out of the city and so on. Um, if they were to give an endorsement, that would just make me laugh myself silly. They're not even in the state. I mean, they got an office, but give, give me a, give me an absolute break. So those endorsements, they just don't mean anything. Um, I think people are intelligent, and every day I treat forgive me, God forgive me if I don't ever treat you as intelligent and being able to draw your own conclusions, about these things. So the idea of endorsements just makes me laugh. And again, it's the media's there's a certain arrogance about the endorsements. Here's who we have determined you should vote for. And it's like, you know, seriously, go to hell. I really just do not care. It's absolutely crazy. There was one other story I wanted to share this morning. This is it's one of the stars of ESPN. Is it Kirk Herbstreit? And he is one of the ESPN announcer or sports guys who doesn't believe that men belong in women's sports. And he was doing an interview, I think, with I think it's an interview he did with Outkick. And so he weighed in on the debate over transgender athletes playing women's sports. And he was asked on social media, do men belong in women's sports? Of course not, he said. That was his answer. So he was on Outkick, and he said he just didn't care what the reaction was going to be. He didn't give a blank about what the reaction would be. And he said, I'm done giving a crap. I'm toning it down. I'm done giving a crap about any of it. It's almost like there are two different sets of rules. And if you have a view that's a little more traditional, or I'm a Christian guy, it's like there is a different set of rules for that viewpoint. It's hard to just turn the other cheek time after time after time. So, yeah, I don't really care. And I don't care at all, which is a good thing. I think it's good and healthy to get to that place compared to, oh gosh, I don't want to get canceled. I don't want to get people upset. He said, I don't give a crap. I'm just going to say certain things. My problem is I have a temper. And so if I get to that point or that fuse gets lit, I let it go. And then I'll explode and say something that I have to be careful of. So again, when he starts feeling, and this is smart, because I will tell you honestly, that happens to me sometimes on the air. You're on the air and your fuse gets lit. And there are a few certain callers or certain things get said by callers that light my fuse. And you're in that moment, your fuse gets lit. And what Herbstreit's saying is at that point, he just has to let it go. Otherwise, he'll explode. I know that feeling. I absolutely know that feeling. There are a few that push me that hard, that and when I feel that, I have to shut my mic off and I'm like, take a breath, relax. It's just that's their point of view. It's okay. The world's not going to end here if I allow this person. No, because generally what'll happen, especially if I'm taking calls, generally what will happen is somebody else is going to respond to that. So I don't have to. And I know that. So I just like cool it, get a handle on your temper. Uh, and I don't want to tell you who they are who do that to me. There's one caller in particular. And so I bend over backwards with him to have a conversation. And because I have to prove to myself, you know what? We've got to be able to have conversations with people, even when they just piss us off. You know, I think then it's probably more than usual. You've got to be able to say, cool it. Let's have a conversation. Let's be able to talk. And sometimes you wind up, getting some good stuff out of them. And you say, hey, there are things here on which we agree. Maybe I don't agree with that, but there are other things here that you and I can agree on, and I'll concentrate on that. But yeah, you just have to let it go. And honestly, the I have to share my thoughts with you every day. First of all, there are several different reasons. One of them is if I'm not authentic with you, you're going to figure it out pretty quick. You will know if I am not being, if I'm suddenly here and then I'm there and I'm dancing all over the place. And if I'm having trouble with an issue, I will tell you. So I say, what do you make of that? I'm not really sure what I make of this. Maybe, especially if I get angry. Um, or sometimes I'm just like, what is the truth? People are saying different things. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. I will tell you because the worst thing I could do is go boom, 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 boom. This is it. This is how it is. And then, the next time you hear me, I'm on the other side or I'm saying something completely different. So folks are smart. They pick up on those things. So you just got to be honest. And if I'm getting angry, I will tell you I'm generally I will tell you when I'm angry, because when I'm angry, I don't think as clearly. I just don't. My emotions I can be a very emotional guy. And Katie will tell you that there are times Katie and I are having conversations and about various things. She brings up things and I've talked about it on the air, but she and I maybe haven't talked about it at all. So she'll bring hey, did you see this? And I'll say, yeah, I talked about it this morning. And she will go on with her thoughts and have a conversation. But every now and then if I'm angry over an issue or I need time, I will tell her, you know what, baby, love you, but don't talk about that right now. Um, I'm hot on that issue right now. So will you give me a day? Let's talk about it tomorrow. And I want to come back to it because I never want to shut down conversation with her. But there are times when I just, you know what? Or other days I'm just exhausted. I have told you that, when you're in this and you're doing this news and information. And so I'm in the news and I'm sharing stories and I'm doing that 3 hours on the air. And now, another shot at the news here doing this. So by the time I'm done each day, some days I'm just tired and I just want to be done. I want to enjoy the things that I love. And whether it's like time with my daughter, spent time with my daughter on Monday. Um, she's going to be leaving Sioux Falls this week. She's leaving tomorrow. Just, almost heartbreaking. It's my youngest daughter who is the last now to leave Sioux Falls. None of my kids are in Sioux Falls anymore. And I mean, hours away. So it's a big move for her. I'm excited for her. Um, but I enjoy spending time focusing on those things, family and activities that I enjoy, those kinds of things. And so when I get hot, and I will even on the air sometimes you'll hear me say, you know, I've gotta calm down. If you hear me say that, that's because my emotions are getting the best of me. I'm an emotional guy. I always have been, you know, and I used to respond to a lot of things with anger when I was a kid. I don't know what caused that. I don't know what I thought I had to be angry about. Truth was nothing, you know, but you're a kid, you're angry, and I was angry for a long time. And I don't like being that person. I just really made a decision. I don't want to be that person anymore. That anger has not served me well. And it's it can get the best of you. And I just don't want to be that kind of person. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Please hit the like button. Appreciate all your comments. I appreciate your likes. If you've got like minded friends, please let them know about what we're doing here every on YouTube every day at 9:30. And I have been thinking, what about a weekend report? What about a weekend report? Very brief, maybe 10 minutes max, 5 to 10 minutes, touching on stories um, on the weekend, big news stories on the weekend. Because normally what winds up happening is I just have to come back to those on Monday morning. You know, hey, this happened over the weekend. And I'll still do that anyway on the air. But I was thinking about some kind of what would you want to see in a Saturday show? If I was to do another YouTube shot on Saturdays, what would you want to see in a Saturday show? I would love to hear from you. So drop me an email, probably be the best thing. Greg.belfrage@kelo.com is my email address. Greg.belfrage@kelo.com. Belfrage, of course, is spelled right on this show, so you don't have to figure that out. Because you likely very few that's gets horribly misspelled. Just drop me an email and let me know if I were to do a Saturday show on YouTube, what would you want to see? So we'll leave it there for now. And so long until next time, my friend. And may God bless. Thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it.